Marcus Turner, a seasoned detective with years of experience navigating the complex streets of Chicago, seldom found a moment of peace. This morning, however, he managed to carve out a rare slice of tranquility at a cozy coffee shop nestled in a quiet corner of the bustling city. Sunlight filtered through the large windows, casting a warm glow over the rustic wooden tables, and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air. Marcus sat near the window, savoring the simple pleasure of a black coffee and a toasted bagel. He relished these moments of solitude, where he could momentarily escape the relentless grind of his profession. The coffee shop was a sanctuary, a place where he could blend into the background, just another patron enjoying the morning. As he took a sip of his coffee, the new manager, Rick, sauntered over. From the moment Rick had taken over, Marcus had sensed an undercurrent of hostility in the man. Rick's eyes narrowed as he approached Marcus's table, and without preamble, he made a derogatory, racially charged remark. The words hung in the air, a stark contrast to the peaceful ambience of the shop. Marcus's jaw tightened, but he chose to ignore the comment, focusing instead on his coffee. He had dealt with worse in his line of work and had learned that sometimes silence was the best response. However, Rick was not one to be ignored. His face twisted with anger at Marcus's lack of reaction, and he leaned in closer, his voice rising. The tension in the coffee shop was palpable. Other patrons glanced over, sensing the brewing conflict. Marcus, maintaining his composure, continued to ignore Rick, hoping the man would tire and move on. But Rick's fury only intensified. In a sudden, violent outburst, he grabbed Marcus by the collar, attempting to yank him out of his seat. The assault was swift and unexpected. Marcus, taken off guard, stumbled backward, knocking over his coffee in the process. The hot liquid spilled across the table, dripping onto the floor. A collective gasp rippled through the shop as patrons watched the scene unfold. One of them, quick to react, pulled out their cell phone and began recording the altercation. Marcus, driven by years of training and instinct, quickly regained his footing. He could feel the adrenaline coursing through his veins, his senses sharpening. He could have easily overpowered Rick, but Marcus knew that any escalation on his part would only complicate matters further. Instead, he focused on defusing the situation. Rick, emboldened by the initial attack, attempted to strike again. Marcus sidestepped, causing Rick to lose his balance and crash into a nearby table. The commotion drew the attention of the barista, who rushed over to intervene. The patron recording the incident continued to capture every moment, ensuring that there would be undeniable evidence of Rick's aggression. The barista, a young woman named Ella, managed to place herself between Marcus and Rick, her expression a mix of fear and determination. She pleaded for Rick to stop, her voice trembling. The sight of Ella seemed to snap Rick out of his rage, and he hesitated, his gaze shifting from Marcus to the gathering crowd. Marcus used the opportunity to step back, creating distance between himself and Rick. He could see the fear and confusion in the eyes of the other patrons, and he knew that this incident would have far-reaching consequences. The recording would soon be shared, spreading like wildfire across social media and news outlets. As the situation de-escalated, Marcus took a deep breath, steadying himself. He knew that this was only the beginning. The derogatory remark, the physical assault, and the public nature of the incident would ignite a firestorm of controversy. Marcus was no stranger to conflict, but this time, it was personal. The coffee shop, once a sanctuary, had become the stage for a confrontation that would set the tone for the challenges ahead. As he walked out of the coffee shop, Marcus felt the weight of what had just transpired. The city he had sworn to protect was rife with underlying tensions, and this incident had brought them to the surface. The road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but Marcus was determined to navigate them with integrity and resolve. The fight for justice had only just begun. The aftermath of the coffee shop confrontation sent ripples through the Chicago Police Department, Marcus's home, and various media outlets. The incident had been recorded by a patron's cell phone and had quickly gone viral, igniting a firestorm of controversy. Internal Affairs wasted no time in launching an investigation into Marcus's actions. The footage showed the confrontation in its entirety, from Rick's initial derogatory remark to the physical altercation that ensued. As the video spread, it became a focal point for public debate, dividing opinions sharply. At the Chicago Police Department, Marcus was called in for questioning. The sterile, fluorescent-lit room felt oppressive, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. He knew the stakes were high, his career and reputation were on the line. The investigators examined every detail of the incident, scrutinizing Marcus's behavior and questioning his decisions. Meanwhile, the media had seized upon the story, portraying the incident in a myriad of ways. Some outlets painted Marcus as a victim of blatant racism, a hero standing up against injustice. Others, however, cast doubt on his actions, suggesting that he had overreacted and escalated the situation unnecessarily. The divisive coverage fueled public uproar, with heated debates erupting on social media and in homes across the city. Marcus's home became a refuge from the storm, but even there, he couldn't escape the turmoil. His phone rang incessantly with calls from concerned friends and colleagues, offering support or seeking information. News vans occasionally parked outside, reporters eager for a statement. Despite the chaos, Marcus found solace in the unwavering support of his family and close friends. As the investigation continued, Marcus faced the very real possibility of suspension. The uncertainty gnawed at him, but he was not alone in his struggle. The community, galvanized by the footage, rallied around him. Local activists organized rallies and marches, demanding justice for Marcus and calling for an end to systemic racism. Signs bearing messages of solidarity and support appeared in windows and on street corners. The community's support bolstered Marcus's resolve. He attended the rallies, feeling the energy and passion of those who stood with him. Their voices gave him strength, a reminder that he was not fighting this battle alone. The public outcry put pressure on the authorities, making it clear that the incident could not be swept under the rug. Despite the challenges, Marcus remained determined to see justice served. He understood that this struggle was bigger than just him. It was about confronting deep-seated issues within the system. The investigation was a grueling process, but Marcus faced it head-on, knowing that the truth was on his side. As the days turned into weeks, the investigation began to uncover more about Rick's past. Whispers of prior complaints and accusations of racist behavior emerged, painting a troubling picture of the coffee shop manager. The revelations added fuel to the fire, intensifying the public's demand for accountability. Through it all, Marcus remained steadfast. He knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but he was prepared to fight for what was right. With the support of his community and the determination to see justice done, Marcus faced the challenges ahead with unwavering resolve. The incident at the coffee shop had set off a chain reaction, exposing the deep-seated issues that plagued the community. Marcus's struggle was just beginning, but he was ready to take it on, one step at a time. The fallout from the incident continued to reverberate through the city, the investigation shedding light on the systemic problems that had long been ignored. Marcus stood at the center of it all, a symbol of the fight for justice and equality. And as the community rallied around him, their voices growing louder and more united, the path to change became clearer. The journey ahead was uncertain, but Marcus knew that with the support of those who believed in him, he could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The fight for justice was far from over, but Marcus was ready to lead the charge, driven by the hope of a better future for all. The coffee shop's atmosphere had transformed since the incident. Whispers replaced the usual chatter, and eyes followed Marcus's every move whenever he decided to drop by. It was as if the walls themselves had absorbed the tension, now radiating an uncomfortable heat. Marcus could feel the weight of their gazes as he entered the shop that afternoon. The barista, Ella, stood behind the counter, her face a mask of concern and determination. She had seen everything that day and had more to share than what was already known. Later, in the quiet sanctuary of Ella's modest apartment, the air was thick with unspoken words. The dim light from a single lamp cast long shadows on the walls, adding to the sense of secrecy and urgency. Ella, her hands trembling slightly, reached for her laptop and opened a folder labeled Rick's Truth. As Marcus watched, she played video after video, each one a damning testament to Rick's deeply ingrained racism. The recordings, taken over several months, showed Rick belittling employees, making vile comments, and even manipulating schedules to discriminate against those he deemed unworthy. Ella's voice was steady, but tinged with the pain of reliving those moments. She had been gathering evidence, waiting for the right time to act, and the confrontation with Marcus had been the catalyst. She had seen too much and could no longer stay silent. The gravity of the situation became increasingly clear to Marcus as he watched the footage. This wasn't just about him. It was about a pervasive problem that had been festering within the establishment. Together, they began to formulate a plan. They would not only expose Rick, but also shine a light on the systemic racism that allowed him to thrive. It was a daunting task, but Marcus and Ella felt a renewed sense of purpose. They knew they had to act quickly and decisively. They started by compiling the evidence into a comprehensive file that they could present to the authorities and the media. The nights that followed were long and filled with hushed conversations and meticulous planning. Marcus and Ella worked tirelessly, their determination growing with each passing hour. They reached out to other employees, encouraging them to share their stories and stand together against the injustice. Slowly, more people came forward, their voices weaving together a tapestry of shared pain and resilience. Ella's apartment became their command center, the walls lined with notes and timelines detailing Rick's actions. They knew they were up against a powerful adversary, but their resolve was unwavering. The community's support, which had initially been a source of strength for Marcus, now extended to Ella and the other employees as well. The momentum was building, and there was no turning back. As they prepared to go public with their findings, Marcus and Ella felt a mix of anxiety and anticipation. They knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but they were ready to face them head-on. The day they chose to release the evidence was marked by a sense of solemnity and hope. They sent the file to various media outlets and awaited the storm that was sure to follow. The reaction was immediate and explosive. The videos went viral, igniting a firestorm of outrage and support. The coffee shop, once a symbol of comfort and community, became a battleground for justice. Protests erupted, and calls for Rick's resignation grew louder. The media frenzy that ensued shone a spotlight on the broader issue of systemic racism, sparking conversations and demanding change. Ella and Marcus stood at the forefront of the movement, their bond strengthened by their shared mission. They knew the fight was far from over, but they had taken a crucial first step. As they looked out at the sea of faces rallying for their cause, they felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. Together, they would continue to push for justice, one step at a time, until the shadows of prejudice were finally dispelled. The community center, a modest building nestled within the heart of the neighborhood, had always been a place of gathering, a sanctuary for those seeking solace and unity. It was here that Marcus and Ella decided to channel their efforts, transforming the center into a hub of activism and support. The once quiet hallways now buzzed with the hum of determined voices and the shuffling of feet, a testament to the growing movement they were nurturing. Marcus stood at the front of the room, his presence commanding yet comforting. He surveyed the diverse crowd that had come together, a tapestry of faces reflecting the rich cultural mosaic of their community. There were elders with wisdom etched into their wrinkles, young adults with fire in their eyes, and children absorbing the importance of solidarity. Each individual carried their own story, their own encounter with injustice that had scarred their lives in some way. Ella moved through the crowd, her energy infectious. She greeted each person with a warm smile, collecting testimonies and recording their experiences. Her notebook quickly filled with accounts of discrimination, each story adding fuel to the fire of their cause. She knew that these testimonies were not just words on paper. They were the lifeblood of their movement, the evidence needed to expose the systemic rot that had plagued their lives for too long. The community meetings became a ritual, a sacred space where voices once silenced now found the strength to speak. People shared their experiences with an honesty that was both heartbreaking and empowering. They spoke of the indignities they had suffered, the subtle yet pervasive racism that had shadowed their existence. Each story was met with nods of understanding, murmurs of agreement, and occasionally, tears of shared pain. As the days turned into weeks, the community center's reputation grew. It became a beacon of hope, attracting attention from beyond their immediate neighborhood. Local activists, journalists, and even politicians began to take notice. The media often portrayed such stories in divisive ways, but here, in the community center, the narrative was clear and unified. They were standing against injustice, together. Marcus and Ella worked tirelessly, organizing workshops, seminars, and rallies. They invited speakers who had fought similar battles, drawing parallels and learning from their experiences. The walls of the community center were adorned with posters and flyers, each one a call to action, a reminder of their collective strength. The air was thick with determination, a palpable sense of purpose that bound them together. Despite the growing momentum, there were moments of doubt. The road ahead was fraught with challenges, and the forces they were up against were formidable. Marcus often found himself reflecting on his own journey, the path that had led him to this point. He drew strength from the people around him, from Ella's unwavering commitment and the community's resilience. They were not just fighting for themselves, they were fighting for a future where their children could live without the shadow of fear and prejudice. The community center meetings culminated in a large rally, a powerful demonstration of their unity and resolve. People gathered in droves, their voices rising in a chorus of chants and slogans. The energy was electric, a tangible force that reverberated through the streets. Marcus stood at the forefront, his voice steady and strong as he addressed the crowd. He spoke of hope, of the power of community, and of the change they were ushering in. Ella stood by his side, her heart swelling with pride and determination. She looked out at the sea of faces, each one a testament to their journey, and felt a surge of optimism. This was just the beginning, the first steps in a longer march towards justice. The road ahead would be tough, but they were ready. Together, they had built something unbreakable, a community that would stand firm against any storm. As the sun set on the rally, casting a warm glow over the gathered crowd, Marcus and Ella knew that their fight was far from over. But they also knew that they were not alone. The community center had become more than just a building. It was a symbol of their collective strength, a testament to what could be achieved when people came together with a common purpose. In the days that followed, the impact of their mobilization efforts became evident. The testimonies collected at the community center found their way into the hands of local journalists who published exposés that shed light on the systemic issues within the coffee shop and beyond. The stories resonated with readers, sparking a broader conversation about racism and discrimination in the city. Local politicians, initially hesitant to take a stand, began to voice their support for the movement. They recognized the growing public demand for change and saw the potential for political gain. While some offered genuine support, others were driven by self-interest. Nevertheless, the increased attention brought more resources and visibility to their cause. The coffee shop, once a symbol of everyday normalcy, now stood as a stark reminder of the pervasive racism that had been allowed to fester unchecked. The pressure mounted on its management, and they found themselves under intense scrutiny. The owner, in a desperate attempt to salvage the business, announced a series of reforms and the dismissal of Rick. However, the community was not satisfied with mere gestures. They demanded accountability and systemic change. The community center continued to thrive as a hub of activism. Workshops on civil rights, legal aid clinics, and youth empowerment programs flourished. The once modest building now buzzed with activity day and night. Marcus and Ella became local heroes, their names synonymous with the fight for justice. They were invited to speak at events, their voices amplifying the message of unity and resistance. Yet, amid the progress, there were reminders of the challenges they faced. Opponents of their cause attempted to discredit them, spreading false rumors and inciting fear. The community center received threats, an indication of the deep-seated resistance to change. But these threats only strengthened their resolve. Marcus and Ella knew that they were on the right path, and they were prepared to face whatever obstacles lay ahead. As they continued their journey, the bond between Marcus, Ella, and the community grew stronger. They had transformed a moment of injustice into a movement of hope and empowerment. The fight was far from over, but they had built a foundation that would endure. The community center stood as a testament to their unwavering spirit, a symbol of what could be achieved when people came together with a common purpose. And so, they pressed on, fueled by the stories of those who had suffered, the support of those who believed in their cause, and the hope for a future where justice and equality would prevail. The journey was long, but they were not alone. Together, they had ignited a flame that would continue to burn, lighting the way towards a better tomorrow. The community center stood as a beacon of hope amidst the dark clouds of systemic racism and societal division. It was nighttime, and the streets were eerily quiet, the air heavy with a sense of foreboding. The center, usually bustling with activity, now lay in a tranquil stillness, a brief respite before the next day's onslaught of activism and resistance. The quiet was shattered by the sudden, violent roar of fire. Flames erupted from the heart of the community center, licking hungrily at the wooden beams and spreading with a terrifying speed. The fire seemed almost alive, a monstrous entity bent on consuming everything in its path. The inferno's glow cast a hellish light on the surrounding buildings, a stark contrast to the peaceful night. Within moments, the community was roused from their sleep, drawn to the scene by the unmistakable signs of disaster. Marcus Turner was among the first to arrive, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and fury. He could scarcely believe his eyes as he took in the sight of the center engulfed in flames. The place that had become a sanctuary for so many was being reduced to ashes before his very eyes. Amidst the chaos, his thoughts turned to Ella. She had been working late, organizing the next community meeting. Panic gripped him as he realized she might still be inside. Without a second thought, he rushed towards the inferno, intent on finding her. The heat was overwhelming, the air thick with smoke that clawed at his lungs and stung his eyes. He pushed forward, driven by sheer determination and the desperate need to save his friend. Through the haze, he caught sight of her, crumpled and barely conscious, her body marked by burns and soot. With a Herculean effort, Marcus lifted Ella and carried her out of the burning building. The fresh air outside was a stark contrast to the suffocating heat within, and he gasped for breath as he laid her gently on the ground. Her injuries were severe, and he knew that every second counted. The community members, galvanized by the sight of their leader risking his life, sprang into action. Some called for emergency services, while others began to organize makeshift aid. It was a scene of both despair and resilience as the community came together in the face of adversity. As the fire department arrived and began to battle the blaze, the reality of the situation sank in. This was no accident. It was a deliberate act of terror meant to silence them. The attack was a clear message from their adversaries, a brutal reminder of the lengths to which they would go to maintain their stranglehold on power. But instead of breaking their spirit, the attack only served to strengthen their resolve. The community rallied around Marcus and Ella, their anger transforming into a fierce determination. The sight of the burning center, once a place of refuge and unity, ignited a fire within them that could not be extinguished. Ella's recovery was slow and painful, but she remained steadfast in her commitment to the cause. From her hospital bed, she continued to organize and strategize, her spirit undiminished by the ordeal. Marcus, too, found himself bolstered by the support of the community. The attack had brought them closer together, forging an unbreakable bond of solidarity. The flames that had consumed the community center had also ignited a movement that could not be quelled. News of the arson spread quickly, drawing attention from media outlets and human rights organizations. The public outcry was immediate, and the support for their cause grew stronger with each passing day. In the aftermath, the community began to rebuild, both physically and emotionally. The center, once a symbol of hope, was now a testament to their resilience. It stood as a reminder of the challenges they faced, but also of their unwavering commitment to justice and equality. The attack had heightened the stakes, but it had also revealed the true strength of their community. They were no longer just individuals fighting against an unjust system. They were a united front, capable of withstanding any challenge. As the smoke cleared and the embers cooled, Marcus and Ella knew that their fight was far from over. But they also knew that they were not alone. The community had been tested by fire, and they had emerged stronger, more determined, and ready to face whatever came next. The arson attack had failed in its objective to silence them. Instead, it had galvanized their resolve and united them in their quest for justice. The road ahead would be long and fraught with challenges, but they would face it together, their spirits unbroken and their resolve unshakable. The city of Chicago, known for its towering skyline and bustling streets, held secrets buried deep within its concrete labyrinth. Marcus and Ella, undeterred by the violent arson attack, found themselves thrust deeper into a vortex of corruption that threatened to engulf them. The community center's charred remains served as a grim reminder of the stakes they faced, but it also fueled their determination to expose the rot that lay beneath the city's surface. In the days following the attack, Marcus and Ella meticulously sifted through the evidence they had gathered. They pieced together a web of connections that linked Rick to several influential city figures. The network of corruption was vast, spanning across various sectors, including law enforcement, local businesses, and even City Hall. Each thread they pulled unraveled more of the intricate tapestry of deceit and malfeasance. Their investigation took them to various locations around the city. At police stations, they encountered officers who were either complicit in the corruption or too fearful to speak out. The atmosphere was thick with tension, and the weight of their task pressed heavily on their shoulders. Yet, they persisted, driven by a sense of duty and justice. City Hall, with its grandiose architecture, was a stark contrast to the grim reality they were uncovering. Beneath the polished exterior, corruption festered like an open wound. Marcus and Ella pored over documents, attended council meetings, and interviewed employees, gradually piecing together the puzzle. Their findings pointed to a deeply entrenched system of bribery, embezzlement, and abuse of power. Despite the mounting evidence, their journey was fraught with danger. Anonymous threats became a daily occurrence. Phone calls and letters warned them to abandon their investigation or face dire consequences. The shadows seemed to close in on them, but their resolve only grew stronger. The community's support, once a flickering flame, now burned brightly, illuminating their path. Rick, the initial catalyst of their quest for justice, became the linchpin in their case. His arrest was imminent, but they needed to ensure that the entire network was exposed. They worked tirelessly, often late into the night, cross-referencing data and corroborating testimonies. The scope of the corruption was staggering, but they were unwavering in their pursuit. The day of Rick's arrest was marked by a palpable tension in the air. Marcus and Ella, flanked by law enforcement officers who still believed in justice, approached Rick's residence. The scene was a microcosm of the city's struggle, a battle between integrity and corruption. As Rick was led away in handcuffs, the weight of their efforts began to lift. It was a small victory, but it signaled the beginning of the end for the corrupt network. News of Rick's arrest spread like wildfire. The media, which had once been divided in its portrayal of Marcus, now rallied behind him and Ella. Their story became a symbol of hope and resilience, a testament to the power of determination and community support. The public outcry grew louder, demanding accountability from the city's leaders. As the investigation continued, more arrests followed. Influential figures who had once seemed untouchable were brought to justice. The city, slowly but surely, began to reckon with its tainted past. Marcus and Ella stood at the forefront of this seismic shift, their unwavering determination serving as a beacon of change. The journey had been arduous, marked by moments of despair and uncertainty, but it was also a testament to the strength of the human spirit. Marcus and Ella had uncovered a depth of systemic issues that had long plagued the city, and their efforts had sparked a movement that could not be silenced. In the aftermath, the community rallied together, stronger than ever. The charred remains of the community center were transformed into a symbol of resilience and rebirth. Marcus and Ella, once ordinary individuals, had become champions for change, their names etched into the city's history as harbingers of justice. The story of their struggle and triumph resonated far beyond the city's borders, inspiring others to stand up against corruption and injustice. It was a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, the power of determination and unity could bring about profound change. As the city moved forward, the lessons learned from Marcus and Ella's journey remained a guiding force. The shadows of corruption had been cast out by the light of truth, and the city, though scarred, began to heal. The depth of the systemic issues had been revealed, and the unwavering determination of two individuals had sparked a revolution that would be remembered for generations to come. The packed courtroom was a testament to the community's collective resolve. The air was thick with anticipation as the jury filed back into the room, their expressions unreadable. Marcus Turner and Ella stood side by side, their faces a mixture of hope and anxiety. The trial had been grueling, a relentless barrage of testimonies and evidence that laid bare the systemic corruption and racism perpetuated by Rick and his associates. The judge's gavel brought the room to a hush. The foreman of the jury rose, and the silence became palpable. One by one, the charges were read, and with each guilty pronounced, a wave of relief and vindication washed over the courtroom. The final verdict left no room for doubt. Justice had been served. Rick and his cohorts were led away in handcuffs, their faces devoid of the smug arrogance that had once seemed unshakable. As the courtroom erupted in applause, Marcus and Ella embraced, their journey of struggle and resilience culminating in this moment of triumph. The media captured the scene, their cameras flashing, but for Marcus and Ella, the victory was deeply personal. It was a validation of their fight against a deeply entrenched system of injustice. The aftermath of the trial saw a transformation within the community. The revitalized community center became a beacon of hope and unity. No longer just a physical space, it symbolized the community's resilience and determination to rebuild trust and foster inclusivity. Marcus and Ella spearheaded numerous initiatives aimed at healing the wounds inflicted by the systemic racism they had exposed. Workshops on racial sensitivity, support groups for victims of discrimination, and programs to empower the youth were just a few of the efforts that took root in the revitalized center. Marcus, once a lone detective battling an unjust system, was now a respected leader and advocate for change. Ella, who had once been a barista afraid to speak out, had blossomed into a powerful voice for justice and equality. The community rallied behind them, their support unwavering. The once divided neighborhoods began to mend, united by a common purpose. Small businesses flourished as trust was slowly rebuilt. The coffee shop where it all began was under new management, its walls now adorned with messages of unity and hope. Marcus and Ella's story became a symbol of what could be achieved when individuals stood together against injustice. Their journey was chronicled in newspapers and documentaries, inspiring other communities grappling with similar issues. They received accolades and awards, but for them, the true reward was seeing the tangible change in their community. They knew the fight was far from over. The issues they had exposed were deeply rooted and would require ongoing vigilance. But they had sparked a movement, one that would continue to grow and evolve long after the courtroom lights had dimmed. On the anniversary of the trial, the community gathered at the center to celebrate their progress. Marcus stood before the crowd, his heart swelling with pride. He spoke of the journey they had undertaken, the obstacles they had faced, and the victories they had achieved. He reminded them that their strength lay in their unity, in their unwavering commitment to justice and equality. Ella joined him, her voice steady and strong. She spoke of the power of community, of the importance of standing up for what was right, even in the face of adversity. She thanked them for their support, for their courage, and for their belief in a better future. The crowd erupted in applause, their cheers echoing through the revitalized center. As Marcus and Ella looked out at the sea of faces, they knew they had made a difference. They had turned a moment of injustice into a catalyst for change, and in doing so, they had become symbols of hope and resilience. The journey had been long and arduous, but it was far from over. Together, They would continue to fight, to heal, and to build a community where justice and equality were not just ideals, but realities. And as they stood there, side by side, they knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together as champions for change.